You're marrying Mr. Moore. End of discussion. Tasha felt the words slam into her like a physical blow. Her stepmother, Rebecca, delivered the pronouncement with the same casual cruelty she reserved for swatting a fly. Tasha had been looking forward to coming home. Even though the house was rarely a comfortable place, the job interview she had earlier that day had been a success. She had wanted to share the victory, to finally have something positive to report. Instead, she was facing this nightmare. What? Tasha managed, her voice barely a whisper. Her father, normally a man of few words, shifted uncomfortably in his armchair. He avoided her gaze, a sure sign he was complicit in this. This madness. You heard your stepmother, Tasha, he mumbled, finally meeting her eyes for a fleeting second. Mr. Moore isn't a good match. A good match. Tasha's voice rose, laced with disbelief and a growing anger. He's practically ancient. He's old enough to be my grandfather. Mr. Moore, as Tasha well knew, was a prominent businessman, a pillar of the city's elite. He was also rumored to be, well, let's say that his looks were an acquired taste. Rebecca, ever the opportunist, had apparently been working overtime to secure a business partnership with him for Lopez Holdings. The catch: Mr. Moore wanted more than just a business deal. He wanted a bride, and Rebecca, without a second thought, had volunteered Tasha. His age is irrelevant. Rebecca snapped, her voice sharp as a shard of glass. He's wealthy, powerful, and single. Something you clearly haven't managed to achieve. Tasha's fists clenched. So, because you need his money, I have to marry some fossil. What kind of backwards thinking is this? It's an opportunity, Rebecca insisted, her eyes gleaming with a predatory light. An opportunity you should be grateful for. Grateful? Tasha scoffed. If it's such a golden opportunity, why don't you offer up? She's your precious daughter, after all. Surely she deserves the best, right? Rebecca's face contorted in a mask of pure fury. Don't be ridiculous. My daughter is destined for greater things. Besides, she's already engaged, almost. Married and has the perfect life. Don't you remember? Tasha rolled her eyes. Of course, it was always about Gladys. Gladys, the favored daughter, the golden child. It was always Gladys who came first. It always had been. It always would be. So, it's okay for you to sacrifice me for your ambition, but not your own daughter? Tasha asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. That's lovely. We're thinking of your future, Tasha, her father finally interjected, his voice laced with a pathetic attempt at reason. Think about what he could do for you. Oh, I am, Tasha retorted, her gaze fixed on him. I'm thinking about a future where I'm trapped in a gilded cage, married to a man I can barely stand, all so you can line your pockets. Don't be disrespectful, Rebecca hissed. We're your family, and we know what's best for you. Tasha's laugh was hollow and bitter. You think you can just decide my life like I'm some pawn in a chessboard? She muttered, turning away to hide the tears pricking at her eyes. Suddenly, a sharp sting erupted on her cheek. Her father had struck her. Don't you ever speak to your stepmother that way, he barked, his face red with anger. She's done her best to be your mother since your real one died. Tasha clutched her face, her eyes burning with unshed tears. The casual cruelty of the remark cut deeper than the slap. Mummy, she said with a bitter laugh. She's more like a wicked witch than a mother, and you changed the moment Mum died. You're not the same father I grew up with. Her father's hand lashed out again, striking her across the other cheek. Go ahead, Tasha dared him, her voice trembling, "Hit me all you want. Sell me off like I'm not your daughter. Just know you've already lost me the moment you chose her over me." Years of suppressed anger, of bottled-up resentment, came flooding out in a torrent of words. She attacked the air. Rebecca had manipulated her into dropping out of college. Her own dreams and ambitions discarded like yesterday's trash. And her father, her once strong and supportive father, had never defended her, never challenged Rebecca's authority, just obeyed her every whim like a puppet on a string. If her mother was still alive, none of this would be happening. Her mother would have fought for her, protected her, loved her unconditionally, but her mother was gone, and she was alone. "You're marrying Mr. Moore, Tasha," her father said coldly, his voice devoid of any emotion. "I make the rules in this house, and you'll do as I say." Tasha stared at him, disbelief warring with a crushing sense of despair. He was serious. He truly planned to marry her off to that wrinkled old man. He didn't care about her happiness, her dreams, her life. All he cared about was money and power. Without another word, Tasha stormed out of the house, her anger simmering, boiling over. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. She just had to get away, to escape the suffocating atmosphere of betrayal and despair. Her father called after her, but she didn't listen. Her feet carried her away, blindly, tears blurring her vision. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew she couldn't stay. That night, Tasha ended up at a bar, a dimly lit, smoky dive where the music was loud and the atmosphere was thick with desperation. It was the kind of place she normally avoided, but tonight, it felt like the only place she could go. She drank. She drank like someone trying to erase herself, to drown out the pain and the anger and the crushing sense of hopelessness. Alone. In a dark corner, she downed shots of tequila and cursed the world. "This life is a joke," she muttered drunkenly, her words slurred and indistinct. "A cosmic joke, and I'm the punchline." She slammed her glass down on the counter, the sound echoing in the dimly lit space. "You got anything else, world? Go ahead, give it to me," she challenged, her voice rising. "Might as well dump all the crap on me now. I can take it." The music was too loud for most to hear her rambling. The other patrons were too absorbed in their own misery to notice her desperate plea, but the bartender, a burly man with a weary face and kind eyes, noticed. He watched her with concern as she downed another shot. "Ma'am, I think you've had enough," he said gently, sliding a glass of water across the counter towards her. She glared at him, her eyes red-rimmed and unfocused. "Are you my boyfriend?" The bartender blinked, taken aback by the question. "No, Mum." "Then just do your job and pour the drink," she slurred, pointing a shaky finger at the bottle of tequila. The bartender sighed and reluctantly handed over the bottle. Tasha grabbed it and poured herself another shot, spilling half of it down. The front of her dress. "Cheers to my miserable life," Tasha toasted, her voice thick with sarcasm. Before gulping down the tequila, hours passed in a blur of alcohol and self-pity. The bar slowly emptied, the music faded, and Tasha's head swam with dizziness. Her vision swam and her steps staggered. She didn't want to go home, not to that house filled with betrayal and broken dreams. She couldn't face her stepmother's gloating or her father's vacant stare. Instead, she fumbled in her purse for her wallet and staggered out of the bar, her balance precarious. She walked unsteadily down the street, the city lights blurring into a kaleidoscope of color. She needed a bed anywhere but there. Spotting a hotel further down the street, She decided it was as good a place as any to rest. She drunkenly checked in, mumbling her name and room number 2, the bored clerk behind the desk. The room number on her card was 208, but her blurred vision and alcohol-soaked brain betrayed her. She stumbled down the hallway, her hand fumbling with the keycard. She stopped outside a door. It looked about right. She swiped the card. Nothing. She swiped it again. Nothing. Frustrated, she leaned against the door. It swung open. She was confused at the lack of security, but she didn't care enough to think about it. She mistakenly entered room 203. The door was unlocked and, to her intoxicated mind, welcoming. The room was dark and quiet, a haven from the noise and chaos of her life. She collapsed onto the soft bed, peeling off her clothes from the heat and falling asleep. The sheets were soft, like sleeping in a warm cloud. She felt, for the first time that day, a sense of peace, and in that moment, she closed her eyes. Then she heard the bathroom door open. A man stepped out. Before she could ask who he was, he kissed her. And what shocked her even more, she kissed him back. Drunk and distraught, Tasha stumbled through the hotel hallway. Tears blurred the numbers on the doors. She needed to collapse, to escape the suffocating reality her father and stepmother had thrust upon her. Her room number, 208, swam before her eyes. Wait, was it 203? It all looked the same. Finding an unlocked door, she pushed it open and practically fell inside. The room was dark, but luxurious. A king-sized bed beckoned, without a second thought. She kicked off her shoes and sprawled across the soft mattress, succumbing to oblivion. The next morning, sunlight stabbed through the curtains, assaulting her throbbing head. A groan escaped her lips as she tried to sit up. Her dress was rumpled, her makeup smeared. Where was she? This wasn't her room. Panic flared as she saw clothes scattered around the room that weren't hers. And then she heard movement from the bathroom. The door creaked open and a man emerged, towel wrapped low around his waist. Tasha gasped, scrambling back against the headboard. Who are you? What? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? The man, equally startled, ran a hand through his messy hair. Whoa, easy there. You're the one who wandered in here last night. He squinted at her, trying to recall the blurry events. You seemed pretty convinced this was your room. Her cheeks burned with mortification. She had definitely made a mistake. But how big of a mistake? As memory came flooding back, she screamed in panic. This wasn't just a wrong room. The stranger ran to her side, covering her mouth to keep her from attracting unwanted attention. He slowly released her, his eyes pleading. Quiet down, you'll get us both arrested. And no, you were not raped. You were very consenting. Later, after awkward explanations and profuse apologies, Tasha sat with David, that was his name, in the hotel cafe. Guilt and desperation warred within her. Marrying Mr. Moore felt like a death sentence, but what other option did she have? And that's when it came to her. An idea so crazy that it might just work. David, she said, her voice surprisingly steady, marry me. David nearly choked on his coffee. Excuse me, did I hear you right? Yes, Tasha insisted, ignoring the incredulous stares from nearby tables. Marry me. I know it sounds insane, but hear me out. She launched into a hurried explanation of the arranged marriage, her stepmother's machinations, and her utter revulsion at the prospect of marrying a man old enough to be her grandfather. I'd rather marry a complete stranger than be forced into a life I don't want. David stared at her, a mixture of disbelief and amusement on his face. And why me? Why not just find some other poor sap at a bar? Tasha grabbed his hand, her eyes pleading. Because fate brought us together, David. Besides, she added with a wry smile, you owe me. I'm pretty sure you just took my virginity. He laughed, a genuine, hearty sound that eased some of her anxiety. Fair enough, he said finally. But there are a few things you should know about me before you make this impulsive decision. What? You're a secret agent? A werewolf? Tasha joked, trying to lighten the mood. David's expression turned serious. I have 2 kids, twin boys, actually, Simon and Sam. Tasha blinked, too. Wow. She hadn't even considered the possibility of kids. But then again, this was a temporary arrangement, right? Okay, she said. That's manageable. I mean, they'll be like instant family, right? What about you? What do you want? That's when she learned a few interesting details about David's life. He was currently renting, but searching for a bigger house. He's a good father. He works full-time as a business owner, so he's usually not home. That's when Tasha's mind wandered. So, she said, raising an eyebrow. What do you say, David? Are you in? The next few days were a whirlwind of legal documents, hurried phone calls, and stunned reactions. David, surprisingly, took the whole thing in stride, calmly filling out paperwork and making arrangements. Tasha, on the other hand, felt like she was teetering on the edge of a cliff, one wrong step away from plunging into the abyss of her parents' fury. The wedding itself was a rushed, low-key affair at the local courthouse, witnessed only by a bored clerk and a bewildered photographer. Tasha wore a simple white dress she'd found on clearance, and David looked surprisingly handsome in a borrowed suit. As they exchanged vows, Tasha couldn't help but wonder if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Her family, predictably, went ballistic. Her father screamed, her stepmother shrieked, and Gladys just sneered, clearly relishing Tasha's downfall. But Tasha stood firm, clutching David's hand and reciting their marriage contract. For 1 year, they would be husband and wife. After that, they would go their separate ways, no strings attached. Moving in with David and his twin boys was an experience. Their small, modest house was a far cry from the opulent mansion she'd grown up in, but it had a warmth and energy that she found strangely comforting. Simon and Sam, identical down to the mischievous glint in their eyes, were initially wary of her. But Tasha quickly won them over with her humor, her willingness to play, and her surprisingly good cookie-baking skills. Life settled into a chaotic, yet strangely fulfilling routine. Tasha learned to navigate the minefield of twin boy antics, to cook meals that satisfied picky eaters, and to appreciate the simple joys of bedtime stories and family movie nights. And surprisingly, she found herself growing closer to David, drawn to his quiet strength, his unwavering devotion to his sons, and the way he looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and something else. Meanwhile, Tasha needed a job, with a family to support, albeit temporarily. She couldn't rely on her parents any longer. She dusted off her resume and started applying for every opening she could find. One interview, in particular, stood out: Hall of Fame company. The interview was surprisingly smooth, the interviewer engaging and friendly. What Tasha didn't know was that David, her accidental husband, was not just a struggling business owner, but David Lewis, the CEO of Hall of Fame company. She had gotten the job because David had seen her resume. Okay, guys, things are about to get wild. Get your popcorn ready, because the truth bombs are about to explode. So, remember how Tasha's been working at the Hall of Fame company, completely oblivious that her fake hubby, David, is actually the big boss? Well, Simon and Sam, those mischievous little twins, accidentally let the cat out of the bag. Tasha overhears them talking about it, and bam, the realization hits her like a ton of bricks. She's been working for her own husband. Can you imagine the awkwardness, the deception, the sheer audacity? But wait, there's more. Remember, Gladys, the evil stepsister from hell. She's still slithering around, trying to make Tasha's life a living nightmare. She decides to unleash the ultimate weapon, Tasha's dark past. She spills the beans to David about Tasha's one-night stand, the pregnancy, and the tragic loss of her child. She paints Tasha as this damaged goods figure, hoping David will run for the hills. Ugh, Gladys is just the worst, isn't she? David, understandably, is shaken. I mean, who wouldn't be? He's got these twins running around and now a wife with a super heavy past. However, something feels off. He can't shake the gut feeling that there's more to the story than Gladys is letting on. That is why he then does something unexpected. He hires his assistant, Brand, to dig into Tasha's past. He needs to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is where it gets insane. Brand uncovers the real story. Remember the night Tasha got drunk and accidentally entered the wrong hotel room? Well, it turns out Gladys was behind the drugged drink Tasha ingested before that night. She'd planned to have Tasha hook up with a sleazy old man to ruin her reputation, but Tasha, in her drunken stupor, stumbled into David's room instead. Whoa, so Tasha may have actually been day-trapped by David. And get this, David, our stoic billionaire CEO, was also drugged that night. He was supposed to be at a meeting, but he'd felt ill and retreated to his hotel. The twins show up at this time. David realizes he never saw the birth mother of the twins, so is there actually a link? They are all so connected. There has to be a link somewhere. Brand then reveals that the twins aren't some random woman's biological sons, they're her sons. He shows David the DNA test results, confirming that Tasha is the biological mother of Simon and Sam. She didn't lose her baby. Her baby actually got split up into 2 boys, and David happened to become the adopted father. What are the odds? Cue the dramatic music. I mean, seriously, this is some daytime soap opera level stuff, right? David, armed with the truth, races to find Tasha. He realizes Gladys has been manipulating him from the start. Everything she said was twisted and warped to make Tasha look bad. He realizes that he loves Tasha, truly, deeply loves her. As if this love story wasn't already insane enough. Now, this is where the waterworks start flowing, people. David finds Tasha at her baby's grave. She's broken, defeated, convinced that he's going to leave her. But David, like the knight in shining armor he is, kneels beside her and tells her the truth. He tells her about Gladys's plan, about his own drugging that night, and about the DNA results proving she's the twins' biological mother. Asterisk, gasp, sob, asterisk, clutch pearls, asterisk, Tasha is completely overwhelmed. She's gone from feeling like the most damaged person on earth to realizing that she's found her true love, her sons, and her happy ending all rolled into one. And as if that wasn't enough, David asks her to marry him. For real this time. Not some fake arrangement, but a genuine, heartfelt proposal. And, of course, she says yes. I mean, who wouldn't? But the happiness train doesn't stop there, my friends. Justice is served. David, being the ruthless businessman he is, uses his power to completely obliterate Gladys's financial empire. She's left penniless and humiliated, finally getting what she deserves. Karma is at well you know. And finally, the cherry on top of this Sunday of happiness, Tasha discovers she's pregnant with a baby girl. A daughter, a little sister for Simon and Sam. Can you even handle this level of cuteness? So, after all the twists, turns, lies, and manipulations, Tasha and David finally get their happily ever after. They have their dream wedding. Is financially ruined serves her right. And they welcome a beautiful baby girl into their already overflowing family. From a forced engagement to an accidental marriage to uncovering a shocking past, Tasha's journey is a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and second chances. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can still bloom, and that, my friends, is the somewhat insane happily ever after Tasha and David so rightfully deserved.